prelims has become a great hurdle for n number of the aspirants. So in this context, what is that right way that can help the aspirants from now onwards to clear this examination very comfortably in 2026? What are the major factors behind your success for in this prelims examination?
Now, if they are scoring more than 70, 75, let's say 80, so they are having a strong basics, but maybe they are lacking in applying that knowledge into the questions.
Who really want to inculcate their own demand into your roadmap, can they really put in their own demand or their needs that should be considered in your program?
So when you know where to draw the boundary, then you can use these basically, the artificial intelligence engines or whatever that we are saying about ChatGPT and that can be used, Gemini or anything that can be, that you can use for yourself and then dig most of it. You are not just limiting yourself to the PYQs, you are going one step ahead. So that theme will be discussed, and that it is not that we are teaching that theme, I will give the list out of them. So because when you teach, you limit your study. So when I tell this is the theme that you are to study, so you go little deep and do your work.
This video was really helpful for many of the aspirants for the next year prelims examination. Hello everyone, I welcome you all to yet another podcast at Insights IAS. Today, I have with me a very special guest, that is Aditya Sir. In this podcast, Aditya Sir is going to surprise all the students across India with his upcoming free prelims guidance program for 2026. The question is, why at this particular point of time he is coming up with PGP, that is Prelims Guidance Program? The answer is pretty simple. Recently conducted prelims examination, n number of the aspirants had worked meticulously hard. They were very much dedicated, but despite that, they were not able to clear this examination. So, prelims has become a great hurdle for n number of the aspirants. So, in this context, what is that right way that can help the aspirants from now onwards to clear this examination very comfortably in 2026? So, to discuss all the aspects about this prelims examination, what is the right way, how many number of mocks you have to stall, how to approach the conventional and unconventional topics, how to basically read the subjects and between the lines. To discuss all these issues, I have with me Aditya Sir. So telling about Aditya Sir in past have cleared all his prelims examination comfortably every time clearing Indian Forest Service cutoff. So under his guidance, in the past also, many toppers have cleared this prelims examination very comfortably. So what is the secret behind his success? So let us try to hear it straight from the horse's mouth. So for that, I welcome you, Aditya Sir, at this podcast. First thing first, sir, please tell the viewers that for this upcoming prelims guidance program, before dwelling into that, I want to hear that what is that main reason and what are the major factors behind your success, consecutive successes rather, I would say, for in this prelims examination. What are the basic things that you had that which made you very, very comfortably clear every time this prelims examination, sir?
Thank you, Ashish Sir, for inviting me to this podcast. It's a great honor. So when I have started my preparation initially, so I was always scared that, many of the people who are giving the prelims will again appear again and again. They will be, who have written the mains again will clear the prelims. So, to enter into that mains area, initially what I felt was, there was very less chance for someone who is studying for, let's say 8-9 months, who wants to clear the prelims and write the mains. So that was always something which was, I have a fear factor. So what I did is, initially I started with basically analysis of previous year questions, based on which it is basically the reverse engineering that I did. While I do that, I started understanding there are certain areas where UPSC is focusing upon. And the questions which they are asking are mostly basics, and which if you are somebody who is strong at basics, can make it easily. So then I started analyzing more and more, and as I realized, it is not more about the content. Yes, you need a content from one standard or authentic book for per one subject rather than having the multiple sources, and it is more about revision so that you do not do the silly mistake. When I started comparing the cutoff and the easy question in the paper, then I started realizing even if you can get your easy questions right, and then some of the difficult question are medium level question, then you can easily clear. So that means that what you are supposed to do is basically make sure that you are very, very comfortable in the basics. And then while you are comfortable in the basic, the way you apply, the same basic to the next question where there is eliminations and other things, this will help. So automatically your second round of question will also be better than others when you are comfortable with the basics. So it is more that I did is kept my basics very strong. Second, made a multiple number of revisions, and keeping the minimum sources. Along with that, I saw many of the UPSC papers, not just civil services, it can be CDA, CAPF, other examination papers, to understand the mindset of the paper setter. So this helped me to understand where I should draw a framework or a boundary for my preparation. Otherwise, it is a never-ending saga, right? So in that way, I made sure that things are pretty much fall in the place, and it helped me to clear every time.
Correct, sir. So, as you have rightly told about particular skill sets which are required for this prelims examination, but sir, to be very honest, if you consider the civil service examination and the journey about prelims, mains, and interview, the true examination is the mains examination, which determines your final merit list, right? So, but if you consider today's time period, that is right now we are recording it in the month of the July. So, from July till next May, is it really that this much time is needed? Honestly, is this much time needed for the prelims preparation, or are we overdoing it? And in this time period, how can one integrate both prelims and the mains preparation? So these are the basic things that viewers will like to know, that is this much time required, yes or no?
This much time requires yes. This much time you don't require, that is also yes. So it depends basically, right? Because when you are answering a question, it is not something that I am answering from the perspective of all size, one size fit all formula.
So, sir, what we can do, we can just let us try to decode this and categorize the students. For example, the students who are given this 2025 attempt, let us try to divide the students. Any students from any answer key, if they are getting less than 70, few of the students are getting 70 to 80, and few of the students are getting more than 80 or 85. So, if we categorize the students into these three categories, then what are the suggestions that you will give to this respective categories of the student, and how much time should they devote in the prelims preparation? Let us make it that way, sir.
That would be better actually, right? So if you can understand the people who are scoring less than 70, it clearly indicates that they actually either lack the conceptual clarity, or they may not be that great with the retention, right? So that means that their basics are not clearly covered, right? So for them, they should start their basics now. They should not think that I will do up to December I will do prelims, I mean mains, then from there I shift back to prelims. It is not something that you cannot compartmentalize and then prepare it. So because there are two things, one is, as I told, it is knowledge. Second is application of knowledge. With the application of knowledge, what we call skill, it includes your elimination, or it is applying your skill set, or applying your knowledge, or let's say the intuition, the development of intuition, saying that this answer can be correct because of the following underlying reason. That will happen over a period of time. Few people might have it from their early childhood. They have attended many competitive exam and they have performed well, and for them, basically, without their knowledge, they will be having within themselves, so it will be easy for them, right? For others, it has to be developed, right, where they have not done too many tests. So for those people whose basics are not really strong at this point of time, they have to go with the mains. For certain, they can prepare with their optional. Along with that, let's say essay and ethics, which do not need any specific preparation. But along with that, the time that they have to keep is to build their basics, so that the same thing can be applied for other GS papers also later period. So I think initially they have to divide in such a way that they have to prepare their basics along with the mains, which is not related to basically the basics, that is called essay, ethics, and optional paper, right? For the second category of student, now if they are scoring more than 70, 75, let's say 80, so they are having a strong basics, but maybe they are lacking in applying that knowledge into the questions where they want to eliminate the option, or in few of the subject they may be very good, and in few of the subject they still may not have the basics very strong, right? So due to in that sense, basically they should also start dedicating some time for prelims, but not unlike the prelim category most of the time, right? So what they are supposed to do is they should prepare for mains. Along with that, they should start preparing for prelims by taking more mocks, covering the things, and giving the more tests so that they can develop that skill set, right? And finally, the third set people, that is 85 plus, it is they are good. It is just a matter of time basically, but only the problem with them is most of them become complacent most of the time, right? Thinking that I was just 2 marks away, 5 marks away. So every exam or every year the paper is different. This year, if you look at the papers, the kind of question that has been history were pretty simple compared to the previous years. So that might have helped them to get that 85. Tomorrow again, if they reduce it and increase some of the other unconventionally, again it may become tough. So you should not become complacent, but you are at good place. So however, you should start working to make sure that you start focusing upon the theme area.
Correct, correct.
Okay, so where you can build your capability and keep giving the test here and then, but most of your energy should go towards mains preparation, but a little bit, not neglecting the prelims preparation has to be done, right? Because the target that I feel should always be not to clear the cutoff. It should be always 20-30 more than the cutoff, so that you do not have any worry after the prelims also, right? So in that way, it is always to target more than 20-30 marks. The cutoff is when you start early. If you are having that edge already, as I have said, for many will have due to their childhood or where they would have given multiple exams, yes, they can basically a little delay, but others should start, right? But we have seen, because many people who are deserving to be in the list, only because of the prelims they could not get into the list. So though it is a qualifying paper for mains and its mark will not be counted, but it cannot be neglected either, right?
Yes, sir, rightly said. When we look in the recent years, 2024, 23, 22, the cutoff have been in a constant in the range of the 70s, 80s, right? So, what we see from the student perspective, when the student tell what mistakes they committed, they are like, sir, I made a silly mistake. I missed by certain marks. Then I could not read this question as whether it was asked as a correct or not correct. So, because of these silly mistakes, especially in the conventional subjects like polity, they have missed the cutoff by about 4 to 5 marks. At the same time, sir, we are having certain unconventional subjects, like let us consider like science and tech, NV, economy. So these are bit towards the tougher side. Students in the recent time are finding it tough to deal with the second part. At the same time, they are also committing the silly mistakes in the traditional. So is there any particular way where we can minimize the mistakes in the easy questions in the traditional areas? At the same time, how can we deal with the unconventional topics, sir? Is there any particular way out for that?
There are multiple things that we have to understand here. One, we do silly mistakes because of multiple reasons. One, let's say you are not reading the questions properly. That may happen because you are rushing towards the time, right? And in your mock test you have not practiced it, you have taken it so casually, right? So that may be the one reason. The second, another mistake that people do that I have seen is filling the OMR sheet, because most of them would have practiced their test papers online, not in the offline mode. So this habit, suddenly when they are putting, even though they are leaving that question, they will be filling it. So sometimes that kind of OMR error can happen. So that can be avoided while you do the practice. Other thing that I can observe in the subjects like polity, it happens because of the familiarity bias. That means that you know the subject. So when you know the subject, you already feel that you directly jump into the conclusion without reading them properly. If the question is tougher, if it is unknown, we read slowly and try to understand what is being asked. But since you feel that you know this subject, you suddenly jump into the conclusion this is the answer without reading the question properly. So wherever you feel the subject is easy, you should always know that there can be a familiarity bias, or there you will become overconfident with respect to those subjects and not read the question properly. So this has to be addressed while preparing itself. And while preparing itself, always you should ask yourself, thinking like an examiner, what can be asked in this topic, where I can get trapped. So whenever you ask yourself from the examiner point of view, you always know that okay, this is the area where this can be tracked. For example, if the president appoints them, they may do it as a prime minister appoints them. While reading it, you know everything, just you have not observed president and prime minister. But if I have, while reading the topics itself, when you start analyzing, okay, this is where he can change, I should be careful, then while reading the question also, you will go slow and you can handle such issue with respect to the easy subject. Now coming back to the difficult subject.
Difficult or unconventional subjects,
Unconventional
which are morely integrated with the current affairs in the recent times mainly, sir.
Yes, yes. See, for that basically there are certain areas where the themes where the questions are repeating. It is not that the questions are coming out of somewhere else, but the way of asking the question has changed, I think. For example, artificial intelligence, they are asking from 2 3 years. Now they have gone one step, they have started asking AI Summit. What that has been discussed there. So they are going one step ahead in the same theme, for example. And Gagan was asked this year, and the recent trends, right, with respect to the space, experiments, microgravity question has been asked. And, alternative powertrain has been asked. Now the war is happening. They talked about, the aircraft carriers, which has been used in the war. No, in that way, basically, the kind of question they are asking, they are again related to basics only. UAV always in the news, right? So it is not that something they have added something new as such, basically, right? But the alternative, fuel technology or the other greener initiatives that has been asked. Last year they had asked about, the radioisotope thermoelectric generators, RTGs, miniature version of, the nuclear reactor and how it is different from the nuclear reactor. That kind of things, basically, right? So the themes are same, but they are becoming unconventional. Here there are two things to look into it. Just because they are becoming unconventional, today they were asked about these are the military weapons. I cannot keep listing everything and going too deep just because of one or two that kind of question. Only my idea would be thinking that the themes are same, I go little deep in those themes. But completely unconventional question you never heard of, they are asking it for the first time, it is okay, right? You don't need to prepare for all the 100 questions. That is not going to happen. Again, then if you do that, again you are running behind the content, you will fall in the trap. You will again go with the multiple sources, multiple current affairs. So automatically you fall in the trap. But if you look at economy, again, it is not just the themes, even the trends has to be observed. Now this year itself, if you look at, they had asked about alternative investment funds, right? They had asked about stock market, how it is performing compared to Hong Kong. It has become, that kind of, the overall stock market they have asked basically. So, and difference between bond holders and equity holders. Again, the stock market itself, they were asked 3 questions. So this trend is happening, right? With respect to the public finance, they had asked multiple questions, right? Within which there were 2 questions where you have to apply the formula and get the answer, right? Deficit wala. Then they had also asked about the question which is basically, the kind of, what debt comes under, what is current account, what is capital account kind of things basically. So this question is repeating. Either they are asking in the application level or at the basic level, right? So the same thing, RTGS, NEFT difference has been asked, right? It is a common theme again. Probably, the finance commission question is always repeated. This year they asked the recommendation itself, right? Even in those questions, it looks like very factual, but one of the statement was clearly saying that the 45% of the net proceeds of the tax has to be shared between the states, which that it was 41%. Even if you can eliminate that, you would have got the answer. So they don't want other things like 45,000 has been given to education, 45,000 crore has been given to education. That is not something that you should focus upon. The basic underlying fact they have given wrong, so that if you know that, at least you should get the answer. So again, they are all checking the recurring themes only, but only the way of asking the question is becoming different. So as long as you become very good at those themes, right, then you will not miss the thing. So I feel that you should start understanding the recurring themes and start going beyond what is been asked till now. Many a times analyzing PYQ, what students do is they basically think that okay, this is the boundary that has been asked last time. Now UPSC gives a clue that I will go one step ahead next time. So the themes can be identified, but you should not define a boundary within that theme. You should start going little ahead, right? Because the technological term, for example, alternative powertrain, only you should know what is the meaning of it. It is, something other than internal combustion engine. If you know that, all of the options were very easy. Now, if you never heard about that term, then it would be difficult, right? So it is just knowing the basics will make you to attend such questions basically. And some of the question are bouncers. You have to accept it. I will not prepare just because they asked this. No, next time, for example, they had asked about, the Coco match, right? Right. Though they gave how they have given, they have told that it has happened here, first time World Cup. Then they gave India defeated Nepal in men's category, women's category, but they exchanged score.
Correct.
Right. Men's score has been given in the women's category, women's score has been given in the men's category. Now, tomorrow, just because they are asking is this detailed level, can I start preparing all the scores, IPL, may who won, what was the score? Right. That is not going to happen. So you should understand that these are the kind of question which can be meant to left at best. Right. And if something happening for the first time, for example, chess happened for the first time in India, that World Cup, and Gukesh become the champion. So in that kind of something, significant thing, Kabaddi, Coco has happened for the first time and India won the World Cup. Keeping those things in mind, you can prepare them because, first time when the World Cup test cricket final has happened, they had asked about it. Correct. So whatever happening for the first time, they will be keep asking about it. Chess also, they had asked about mascot of the chess tournament that happened in India. So if it's happening for the first time, there's a chances that that can happen. You can prepare those, right? It is not something that you should not prepare those. You have to prepare. But scores, preparing final match, may want score, that becomes too much to prepare, and you should not worry about those questions. Just because you have made this, next time I will make sure that I will not leave anything. That mindset should not be there. It is, you should focus more on consistency rather than the perfection. The perfection can never be achieved in this examination. So you should never try to do it basically. So however, you should become good at tips.
Yeah. So basically, to sum up, so what you are focusing is mainly about the basics. Secondly, understanding the important themes, recurring themes, decoding the PYQs, right? So in this sense, if we look into the contemporary times, sir, what we understand is the diversity of the questions, especially with respect to current affairs, and the depth of the questions, in despite the themes are recurring. So in this context, I have to ask you, sir, this particular top question, that whether there is a need to diversify the sources for the preparation because the questions are getting deeper. So should we diversify our basic standard books, reading of the basic standard books or the sources? And secondly, about the newspaper, or what should be done for addressing such questions?
See, to identifying the themes or the issues that is happening, the newspaper would be enough, because all the newspaper will cover most important things that is happening. They are not asking the minute things that is happening in the first place, right? So I feel that, the current affairs, that whatever you are doing, whether you are reading any one newspaper, along with that one monthly magazine of any institute that you feel that, you are comfortable with, that can be followed as such, okay? However, now, thanks to advance in artificial intelligence, you have ChatGPT and other things. It will help you to further go in depth about the themes related. For example, if I want, let's say, Buddhism and Jainism, I just want, let's say, the sects of Buddhism. Then I may get Hinayana, Mahayana in the first place. I want subsects of Hinayana and Mahayana and their founders. I don't want too much of detail. So when you know where to draw the boundary, then you can use this basically, the artificial intelligence engines or whatever that we are saying about ChatGPT and all, that can be used, Gemini or anything that can be, that you can use for yourself and then dig most of it rather than reading for newspaper. Right. Reading only one extra that you can use it by looking at the themes. I want to go little deep. So I can go little deep and, study it in to the point kind of thing. Right. So that means that you have to use the internet along with that basically, but you should restrict your search. You should not go behind basically the content development. That is the only thing that I am telling, that, you should not run behind the knowledge. So you should use it to an extent where I should draw the boundary. Exactly. Right. So in that way, it is not need not to prepare with too many sources. Limit your sources for one authentic which you feel. Some people feel that, the Hindu newspaper is better, some will feel that Indian Express is better, that is up to them, right? Along with that, for subjects like, ecology or environment and, those things, you can go with, down to earth, nature.com. You can just keep looking in the articles to understand what issue is happening. Not that, you should go in deep, just keep looking into them so that the broader viewpoint that you can have, then you can search about the same. And as I told, you always should target for 80 question only, 20 question you cannot do much about it. So don't run behind that I will make sure that all 100 question I know. That is not going to happen, right? So that has to be taken care. Otherwise, you have to limit your sources.
So, sir, rightly said, you have focused upon the major aspects of the prelims preparation. So, but what the viewers are waiting for is the free initiative that you are going to offer. That is Prelims Guidance Program. Now, there are n number of the aspirants who are sitting across the remote areas in India who are really putting up a lot of efforts, but they need a right direction, a roadmap, and a strategy. So, in this context, I want to know, and this viewers want to know, how you are going to help them with this free initiative called as PGP Prelims Guidance Program for 2026. So, please elaborate upon it, sir.
We usually used to take the classes with respect, the personal guidance with respect to prelims. But most of the students who have cleared are mostly the offline students or who have attended our classes. But we never talked or the guided the students across the country in the online mode. So YouTube is one such area we can the disseminate the same kind of knowledge to across the country, right? So that it can be helpful. So, and after this year's prelims, when many of the aspirants have started asking that what is going wrong, right? So then we felt that it is one thing, they are starting the preparation in the January, and then they are focusing more on building the knowledge component itself.
Correct.
When this component is built for next 3 months, then they will have only 1 or 2 months for their revision and other things. So they might not have developed that skill set itself, so that they are able to score that 80, but they are stucking there from every year. Again, next year they think that I am just close to the corner. Again, they focus upon their mains, and then till January, again from January they jump back to prelims. So now they are not understanding how to build this skill set, right? And they think that skill set is a cheat code. It is not, right? It is the right side of kind of mindset. You understand what can be a right answer, what cannot be a right answer by applying the basics.
Correct.
Right? So when you are clear about your basics, then you apply it to the question and eliminate some question. For example, if I just want to put it in a very simple question, for example, one time they have asked that with respect to parole, right? They are told that every state government can have their own prison rules. Now, what is the basic of it? The prisons come under state list. If it is a state list, every state can have their own rules. They can make own legislation. So if you know that whatever that is there under the state list, that can be made with the separate. Every state can have their own rules. That is just an application that every prison can have their every prison in the country or every state can have their own prison rule. Become just an extension of that basic idea, right? So even it is just applying the basics. So what I'm saying, this is the kind of skill set that you should start developing over, right? So that for that basically you have to attend more tests, understand the themes also. Similarly, themes will not be available in the books. For themes, you have to put the effort to get the information about it, right? Either you will take some material believing that they have covered everything, you will not put any extra effort.
Correct.
So keeping all these things in mind, so what we are doing, we are starting an initiative where we discussed what exactly that is needed to clear the prelims in the first few sessions, depending upon again the students community ka requirement, tailor made. If they are having problem with the sources, first we will listen to them in their comment box, what are their issues, and they can message us on the Telegram as well. So once that is consolidated, that will be done in the first few sessions before moving into the actual program, so that those things which are not generally talked about, that can be addressed in the beginning itself. They are clear about it, right? Second, once we go into the main component, what we'll do, we'll take a subject, we go chapter by chapter, right? Let's say if I am taking ancient India, I will start with prehistoric, then I will move to Indus Valley civilization, then maybe we will move to Mauryas and those things basically, right? Guptas, everything we are covering entire, and where we will discuss about the important themes in that chapter. One, through the previous questions, right? If there are no sufficient previous question, for example, last 15 years may prehistoric era, there might not be many questions, right? There may be a Neolithic site that has been asked. Other than that, basically there were not much question on the prehistoric. But for that, we also look into a little more, like from last 20 years. And along with that, we will also see other examination conducted by UPSC like CDS and CAPF for those chapter where we have less number of questions, right? And try to understand what are the various themes where the question are asking. Within that themes, what are the various dimensions. So what else which has not been asked has to be prepared.
Correct.
So that you are not just limiting yourself to the PYQs, you are going one step ahead.
Correct.
So that theme will be discussed. Correct. And that it is not that we are teaching that theme. I will give the list out of that theme. So because when you teach, you limit your study. So when I tell this is the theme that you are to study, so you go little deep and do your work. So that will help you to understand the themes better. So we discuss that theme chapter wise, right? And weekly there will be 2 videos covering, let's say, one subject per week, right? Let's say if the subject is too vast to cover in 1 week, it may take 3 days, right? So 3 videos, right? That's it. And CSAT will also be covered, right? In that way, and finally they have to register for it. And once you register for it, basically we will be given a test containing 50 questions based on that theme. So what will happen is, if you have studied well, whether you have covered well, so you will come to know how was your preparation, understanding of that theme that you have done. So that will keep a validation for your preparation. This happens for next 6 months, so that next 6 months all PYQ from various examination plus the upcoming themes that can be studied, which will be, and also when you are validating yourself by attending the test, that will be more helpful for you to understand where do you stand. So along with your mains preparation, if you keep doing this, this will suffice when you jump to prelims preparation from January entirely, in that way.
So
Right? So that is what we are coming up with.
So, sir, it's a really great idea. So, to summarize, what sir is saying, that he is going to take each and every subject. In that every subject, he will first discuss and decode the important themes. He will tell you how to prepare those themes with the PYQs. And these PYQs are not just from UPSC Civil Service Examination, but he is going to diversify into CAPF, CDS, and other UPSC examination. That will bring more holistic approach for your preparation with respect to the particular subjects, particular important themes. In this context, after weekly, he will be conducting 2 videos, or he will be releasing 2 videos freely on the YouTube. After this, the students who want to basically test themselves whether they have really understood those things, for him, he is providing them 50 MCQs ka test, which is a great news. In this context, the students who really want to just make use of this free initiative, there is a need to register yourself in the Google Sheet. But sir, if there are certain students who really want to inculcate their own demands into your roadmap, can they basically, can they really put in their own demand or their needs that should be considered in your program, so that the program becomes more holistic and more tailor made? So for that, how can they approach you, and how will you understand their demands?
One, there is always a comment section on the below the video, that where they can comment what they are looking for apart from the subject. Maybe how to prepare their current affairs, how to give the mock test, or those and those. So how to analyze the the test series, their performance, what has to be improved upon. So that can be discussed. So whatever that they want, basically personally, so they can comment. So that will give us an idea what is the huge demand that is coming. So first 2-3 videos we can focus upon that, right? Second, I will be providing my Telegram ID where they can message me personally. So what are their demand? So it is the once that video will be done, it will try to cover through video first rather than the individual replies as such in the beginning. But once they have started doing it, we can have the individual mentorship as well, right?
Yeah. So will you make us another video about in detail about what is this particular free initiative?
Yes. Because the timetable has to be discussed, how long it will go.
Correct.
So everything, how CSAT will be integrated.
Correct.
Right.
Matlab from July till next May, how you are going to proceed?
Next December.
December.
Because by
Okay.
that time it will get
Correct.
over. So all the things, so that they are ready to jump into their prelims preparation.
Exactly.
With the proper idea what they are doing from the January.
Correct.
So maybe by November, December, May, it will get over by covering all the subject comprehensively.
Sir, and one major thing that needs to be discussed is CSAT. It has been also a nightmare for many of the aspirants. But I personally feel, let us keep this video a short. We can make yet another video on CSAT. On the basis of the demand of the students. If they are really interested, we can definitely make a video upon the CSAT about speaking about the comprehension, about the logical reasoning, about aptitude. We'll discuss in detail. But I really hope this video was really helpful for many of the aspirants, so that they can streamline their preparation for the next year prelims examination. And I really thank Aditya Sir for coming up to this podcast and really bringing this a very good initiative for all the students community across the India, which will definitely help the aspirants to comfortably clear the prelims. So thank you, Aditya. Thank you, students. See you soon.